This video will introduce you to the Market Profile Combination Pack for TradeStation, a set of indicators that build profiles for futures, equities, and foreign exchange. If you're comfortable with Twitter, myself and other traders use the hashtag MarketProfile when we're tweeting about Market Profile. This is not going to be a video where you learn Market Profile. There are a lot of great resources available for that. Focus of this video instead is the indicator package itself. However, since we're coming to this video with different backgrounds, let's create a base set of terminology. Time price opportunity, or TPO, is the basic building block of the market profile. Each half hour of the trading day is designated by a unique letter. The first bar is typically the letter A. When a price is traded during a given half an hour period, the corresponding letter is recorded next to the price. If that price already has a letter, the letter for this bar is then appended to the end, and you get a string of letters next to the price. The point of the control, or the POC, or POC, is the price with the longest line of TPOs closest to the center of the session. A naked POC is a POC that is yet to be tested in a subsequent session. Price has not yet gotten back to that price. The value area, VA, is the area where about 70% of the session's business is conducted, roughly one standard deviation. Tail, or single prints, or prices that only have a single letter, a single TPO, that are either on the top or the bottom of the profile. And an anomaly is an area within the profile that lacks symmetry. The package contains three indicators: the Market Profile Combination Pack H.MP3, which builds the market profile, the Market Profile Combination Pack H.MP.Plotter, which plots the market profile in a radar screen, and Market Profile Combination Pack H.InitialBalance, which plots the initial balance range on your chart. We will now jump into TradeStation and take a look at the market profile indicator. We're now taking a look at the profile indicator running inside a TradeStation. As you can see, we have a 30-minute chart for the S&P 500 futures contract running. We have it also running against Amazon, to give you an example for it running against an equity, and Euro USD for a foreign exchange. These are the typical charts that you'll see during regular trading hours. In addition to regular trading hours, there are some other sessions that are standard and available. I use a chart that looks like this for my trading. Instead of ES.D, I use the continuous ES and insert the indicator twice, once to build the profile during the regular trading hours and once to build the profile during the extended trading hours. We'll later in the presentation we'll explain what these lines are. I just want you to see what the charts look like. In addition to regular trading hours, there are built-in composites profiles that can be built. Here you see a profile for ES.D 30-minute chart, but we're building profiles that represent the trading during the week. So you see here, this is the current week profile being built out. Previous week, what the profile looked like, week before that, week before that, week before that. So a weekly composite is one of the built-in composites, and you can see the output looks exactly the same as on a smaller time frame. Should you want to take a look at the profiles at a larger composite, there's built-in monthly, whereby all the trading during the month is aggregated to build a profile. In this case, we're using daily candles instead of 30-minute candles, but you basically see the same profile shape in either case. In addition to the weekly and the monthly composite built-ins, you can also take a look at profile over a trading year. This time I happen to, each one of these candles is a weekly candle, and you can see that the profiles are being built on the year. So this is what the year of 2017 looked like, current year 2018, in previous years. Should those composite profiles of week, month, and yearly not be sufficient, you can also create an arbitrary composite. In this case, I just happen to choose midsummer of 2017 to build the profile. It's still running now. And you can see this is for the S&P 500 cash index, SPX.X. And again, profile, everything that you're going to learn about building the profile can be used here as well. We're back now out of TradeStation, and let's take next few minutes and review the different configuration choices you have for the indicator. We'll go tab by tab. The General tab, you can enable or disable the ability of the indicator to update the values that are displayed tick by tick. If you do enable it, the TPOs are drawn on each tick. Keep in mind this uses more CPU. Disabled, the TPUs are updated only on bar close. It appears as though there's a lot of choices you have on the Inputs tab. We will go through that. There's quite a bit of redundancy, so don't worry. First thing to remember, this is what the indicator looks like. You have the ability to color the TPOs. In this case, the red is the point of control, the yellow is the value area, and the green are TPO outside the value area. If you have it updated tick by tick, as new prices are hit, characters are added, TPOs are added, coloring is updated. Not tick by tick, the coloring in the letter is updated when the specific bar is closed. You can add the plotting of the value area as it develops during the trading session, known as the developing value area. The bottom line is the developing value area low, red is the developing point of control, and the top is the developing value area high. This gives you added insight throughout the trading day as opposed to think of the TPO letters as a snapshot. On your input tabs, that would be DVA show set to true. You can also, for those who use previous value areas to influence their trading ideas, display the previous value area by setting pre-VA show to be true, and in that case this dashed yellow lines are the previous value area high and low respectively, and the larger dashed line red is the previous point of control. Additionally, if you like some more value add to the display, you can enable the display of the session open and close caret, as well as the statistics, which basically gives you a summary of the value area location and the point of the control, and this is displayed at the end of the trading session. Input tabs are caret show equal true to see what you have, or false not to display. Stats show true or false. You can add the ability to display the tails, naked POCs and anomalies, but no anomalies occurred in this capture. In the input tabs, you have an NPOC show. When it's 1, you'll see the naked point of control, which in this case is the red line. Tail show equal 1, these lines. Anomaly show equal 1. If there were anomalies, in this case, they would have been displayed. When we look at the Inputs tab, the first area that we'll focus on is the session line. Your choice there is RTH, ETH, WM, Y, or A. I hope that's clear. Regular trading hours, extended trading hours, weekly, monthly, yearly, or arbitrary. Session start and end time, use 24-hour clock. If you have a 30-minute chart, and this is now with and you're using an exchange display time zone, your start and end time for equities would be 900 and 1600. For index futures would be 8:30 to 15:50 for a .D, or 8:30 to 15:30 for continuous. And for foreign exchange, it depends on your time of day focus. Now, if your time zone that you're displaying is not exchange, it's local, you will have to modify these times as appropriate for your time zone. ETH section, there really are none for equities. For index futures, I would use 1700 and 830. And for foreign exchange, I would use 1700 and 1659. This gives you the entire trading session. Again, these times are based on exchange display time zone. If you use a local display time zone, you'll have to convert it to your own time zone. Merge we'll take a look at as we go into the review of the charts in the sample workspace, and there's a bit of information in the documentation. Keep in mind, if the merge is 0, then a TPO is placed on the chart at every traded price. If the TPO is non-zero, then it's installed at specific increments. Best idea to keep in mind here is if you're trading a large price stock like Amazon, whose minimum move is a penny, it's trading somewhere around 1400. Do you really need to see every penny on your chart traded to have a TPO line installed? Or perhaps is it more relevant to have a TPO line installed at every quarter? If you wanted a quarter, you would set merge to the 0.25. Again, we'll spend some more time on this later in the presentation. This is a visual example. In this case, we're using ES. This is showing a TPO placed on your screen at every price traded. Remember, for those of you who are not familiar, ES is the futures contract for the S&P 500, and it trades in 0.25 increments. Here we have the merge set at 0.5, which basically says at every other price, merge the prices and only display a TPO at every half of a point. A lot of the components that can be displayed allow you to select the color. Typically, the names have been, I've done my best to make the names obvious. They are appended at the end with an underscore color. TPO, the value area color, the point of control, red, green, yellow, the caret, the naked POC, the tails, the anomaly. You can use any of these words in there, or you can use RGB with the 3 numbers for red, green, blue that you would get out of a custom color wheel. The indicator also displays, as you saw, letters, and you can choose the fonts for the TPO and for the stats. You can choose the font size, whether it's bold or italic, and the transparency. And basically for the fonts, anything that you can use, put in the format text area, you can put into here. So if you have a favorite font for the statistics that you would like, type in the name as it's listed here, and that will be the font used for the stats. TPO, I would suggest you keep it as it is because those are fixed width fonts. Point of control, tail, and anomalies all have very similar inputs. First of all, when they end with the underscore show, you have 3 values that you can use, a 0, a 1, or a 2. I'll explain what those are in a moment. Style, various different lines of solid, dashed, or different dotteds. Transparency, colors, and how thick those lines are. Regardless of whether it's a NPOC, tail, or anomaly, when show is 0, no lines are displayed. When you set the value of the input to a 1, be it NPOC, tail, or anomaly, they will be displayed, but they will be removed when price retests that location. So here is an anomaly that's been drawn. Price has not got up to that anomaly area, so it remains on the screen. Here is a point of control that was tested after the point of control was set, the line is no longer on the screen. If you want to see how price behaves at previous point of controls, tails, or anomalies, then you would set the value to 2. And that basically means show it and then truncate it when price gets there. And you can set that for the NPOC, the tail, or the anomaly. They can all be the same, or they can all be different depending on the way you'd want to do your analysis. A few other inputs. You can set the first bar, the letter that the first bar represented by. It's usually a capital A. You'll see when we go into the sample workspace that I use a small a for ETH. Keep history. You can define how many days back of TPOs you want to keep on your chart. And channel is an ability to share market profile variables with indicators on other charts and timeframes. That's a bit more complicated than to focus in this intro video. There is been documentation available, and I would suggest you take a look at that. In the Style tab, we've jumped over alerts because there's nothing there to put. In the Style tab is where you define how you want the value area high, POC, value area low, and the previous value area high, POC, and value area low plots to look. If you want it, remember, if you choose to show them and have them plotted, you would choose the style and the weight. If you want something other than a solid line, you must move weight to be a thin line, and then you have the additional choices. Color tab is where you would set the color of those plots. As I said, there's nothing to change on alerts, scaling, or the advanced tab. Next steps, go back to the App Store, please, download the documentation, or go to my website and download the documentation. You can always take a look at any information available on the my website. Send me an email. And next, what we will do is review the sample workspace. Let's jump into TradeStation and begin to look at the sample workspace. Sample workspace should be stored in your default workspace folder with the name Market Profile Combination Pack and in parentheses version and whatever the version is that's relevant at the time. When you open the indicator, you'll see a window that looks as you see here with 1, 2, 3, 4 chart windows across the top. ES 30 minute, ES.D 30 minute, Spider 30 minute, Euro USD 30 minute. If you're a futures trader and you trade equity indices, these two charts are where you're going to want to focus. If you trade equities, you want to focus here. If you trade foreign exchange, this one. These minimized windows at the bottom, you can ignore them. They are legacy indicators from previous version of the application. We'll be focusing purely on these top opened charts. We'll start with the ES 30 minute. You see here what we have is all of these charts, remember, are display time zone, exchange time zone, regular session. If you want to have a local display time zone, you're going to have to make changes to the indicators. Excuse me. The indicator, we have 3 indicators installed here, format analysis techniques. The initial balance and then the market profile indicator is installed twice. Once for the RTH session and once for the ETH session. Let's take a look at the RTH configuration. Start time and end time, 8:30 to 15:30. It's a 30-minute continuous chart. First bar letter is a capital A, and then you can pretty much scroll down and see what you have here. You'll also notice that the channel variable has been set because in the sample workspace we're sharing the market profile values with the radar screen. In the distribution version or the sample workspace, the update tick by tick is not enabled. We'll enable it now. I'd like to have the ETH profile on the screen on this chart. I do not update it tick by tick, save CPU. I predominantly trade during regular trading hours. But you'll notice a couple of changes. The session is different, start and end time is different. I've set the first bar letter to be a small a. Colors are the same, the font size is smaller, transparency is a bit more transparent, and I don't show any of the carets or the status, nor do I show tails, pointed controls, etc. because in the way I trade, it's not relevant for my trading style. I do like to see the look and feel of the overnight session, but I don't use any of the tails, naked pox, anomalies in my trading plan. And then finally, the initial balance. So like I said, this is my go-to chart. Doesn't matter if it's ES, NQ, YM, RTY. This is the chart that I would be using. Now, one of the things you can do after you get the configuration, the look, feel, colors as you prefer, you can then go and do a save analysis group to get all three indicators with the configuration settings saved. Let's just say MP-FUT, right, for futures. You'd hit OK. Next time you created a brand new chart, you would then be able to insert analysis group, pick that name out of the list, and you'd have all the configured indicators as you want. Very similar chart here, the ADS.D. The main difference is the end time is 15:15 on a .D session. That's really not only the main difference, but the only difference. If you're just an RTH trader, this is the chart for you to start with. Equity trader, start with the spider chart. You can look and see the TPOs look rather spaced out. Recently we've been having pretty wide ranges, so I set for the distribution in the sample workspace, I set the merge value to a dime. The width or the range of the days look like it's narrowed a bit, maybe every 2 cents instead of every dime. You'll see a very similar shape, but it's a bit fuller. Now, if your equity is something that's very high price, let's say Amazon, I would initially start at 50 cents. It's going to look like there's no information on Spider, but keep in mind Spider's trading at 273, whereas Amazon is trading at 15.85. So 50 cent merge for Amazon appears to make sense. There's a good amount of information in the user documentation for you to get started, so not to worry. If you trade equities, look at the documentation. It explains how to set the merge value there. Foreign exchange, I don't trade foreign exchange very much, but if you want to see the entire session, I would use ETH, session start time 1700, session end time 1659. Your merge values will be different depending upon the product you use, the product you're charting rather, but I think that will become self-evident over time. One thing I'd like to do in here is show you, insert a blank row, I'm going to type add NQ. Radar screen has got the MP plotter indicator installed on it, and it's actively listening for each one of these symbols for the market profile values. There is no chart with NQ on it, and so these values are empty. If we happen to take add ES and take that chart and change it to add NQ, you'll notice that after the indicators run and transmit their information, you see them in the radar screen for the NQ. This wraps up the quick, and I must stress the quick overview of the sample workspace. If you have any questions or issues, feel free to send me an email, and thank you for subscribing.